Hi Sparkles, welcome back to my channel. I just want to thank you guys so much for all the like and the support that I got in my last few videos. You are helping this channel grow and I just want to thank you very much for that. Today's video is going to be about John Wayne Gacy, also known as the Killer Clown. If you guys have heard of him, but you will definitely know about him now since we are talking about him in this video. John Wayne Gacy was born in Chicago, Illinois in March 17, 1972. His mother was Ellen Robertson and his father was John Stanley Gacy. He had two other sisters, so he was the only boy in the family. Gacy was very close to his mother as well as his two other siblings, but we could not say the same thing for his father. Gacy and his father did not have a good relationship at all. His father was physical, mentally and verbally abusive towards the entire family, but with Gacy it was a little bit more extreme than others. Gacy's earliest memory of his father was not a lovable memory. It wasn't his father holding him. It wasn't his father caring for him. It was a moment where Gacy accidentally ruined a car that his father was making or was working on, and his father brutally, horribly beating Gacy up. It was said that a family member molested Gacy as a child, but Gacy was too afraid to even bring that up to his father since he believed that his father would blame him for the act, so he kept that to himself. Now, unlike all the other cases that we have spoken about in this channel, most of the kids usually have a well or loving upbringing, a caring family, a caring mother, a caring father, you know, all that good stuff. But Gacy, on the other hand, did have like a traumatic, terrible upcoming, which can mentally destroy a kid growing up. Gacy eventually left home and moved to Las Vegas. He did not have a place to stay, but he did work at a mortuary residence, and the manager at the mortuary residence did notice that Gacy needed some help with somewhere to stay or some place to sleep. The mortuary had an extra room that the manager offered Gacy. He was very thankful for that offer and accepted that offer. Soon after that, it was said that Gacy started acting weird. Sometimes he would hop in the coffin with people, but mostly with a teenage body. He did eventually decided to move back to his parents' house. He decided that he wanted to turn his life around and become a little bit more outgoing and a little bit more liked, since he wasn't very much liked as a child. Gacy was very outgoing with the community. He was very loved and very well respected by He ended up managing 3 different KFCs. Gacy organized culture gathering. He was also involved in the political matter of the community. Gacy was married and divorced twice. He had 2 biological children and 2 other stepchildren. Gacy was doing well for himself. Obviously, he was managing 3 different KFCs. He employed a lot of teenage boys and teenagers in general. You know, it's their first job. You know, he opened up a club at the basement of his home where he will invite these employees over to come drink, they're kids, you know. There's a lot of stuff they weren't allowed to do, so he will be the kind of like the cool boss that will invite them to drink, to watch adult movies, you know, and all sorts of things. So he was like that cool manager that everybody liked, that relaxed, chill manager, you know. Gacy will give them many alcohol and made some sexual comments, and if they rebuffed him, he will act like it was just a simple joke. He was just playing with them, like, you know. So it was just a way to test their morals, to see if they were on the right path. In August 1967, Gacy sexually assaulted a 15-year-old boy who was the son of a fellow Joyce. Gacy lured the 15-year-old boy into his house, where he promised the 15-year-old boy's pornography, alcohol, drinks, and all. He allowed him to watch all things that a 15-year-old boy should not be allowed to watch. And he also told the 15-year-old boy, quote, "Have to have blank with a guy before you have blank with a girl." Over the following month, Gacy sexually abused multiple other male co-workers, underage male co-workers, offered them $50 each, and $50 back then it will be like $500. So he tricked a lot of younger boys by luring them into things that he know they would want and things that they cannot afford. In March 1968, the first boy that Gacy sexually assaulted eventually went up to his father and told him about the situation and or about the what happened between him and Gacy. The father immediately informed the police. On March 10, 1968, Gacy was charged with a sodomy of a 15-year-old. And mind you, that sodomy that he was charged for was only for the 15-year-old guy, not for all the other of his co-workers or people that he'd been luring into his car. It's just for that one guy. So he was charged for 10 years sentence. On September 12, Gacy was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation at the psychiatric hospital in the University of Iowa. Doctors examined him over a period of 17 days before they conclude that he had a antisocial personality disorder. On November 7, 1968, Gacy was found guilty and was sentenced to his 10 years in prison. Gacy did not agree with that decision, since the 16-year-old boy was the one that forced himself into Gacy. He did not do anything wrong. He was the one to blame for Gacy's action, is why he tried to use in court. Obviously that did not work. Gacy was a very well-loving guy. He was the kind of guy that was really good with his word. He was a suit and tie type of guy, you know. He was the one talking for he was the voice of the community. He was the voice of everything. If you want something to be changed, he would be the one that you can come up to. You know, he was like that type of person. Even while he was in prison, he was the voice of the prisoners. He was able to change the pay rate of the prisoner. He was able to do a lot of things for the prisoners. He was a very well respected and a very well known guy, even while he was spending his time in prison. After having to serve 18 months of his 10-year sentence, Gacy was granted parole on June 8, 1970, with a 12 months of probation, which include that Gacy relocated back to Chicago and to live with his mom and had a set curfew of 10 p.m. However, within 24 hours of Gacy's relief, he was able to start another job. You know, he was able to get back into the working life and work for a few companies. He was even able to successfully open his own interior designing construction works for called the PMD. Nearly a year later, on February 12, 1971, Gacy was again charged for sexually assaulting a teenage boy. The court did dismiss the complaint after the young boy did not show up for his court. On June 22 of that same year, Gacy was once again arrested for sexually assaulting another teenage boy, but Gacy was charged for battery. Yes, battery. But mind you, all of that is happening while Gacy was still on his parole. But for an unknown reason, the state of Iowa was not aware of those arrests and all these charges. In October 1971, Gacy's parole ended. Not only that, the following month, the records of Gacy's criminal report was sealed by the state of Iowa. Gacy was eventually able to purchase a ranch house near the village with the help of his mother. It was the type of house that your nearest neighbor was 1 mile away from you. You know, he had plenty of land, plenty of space in his house. Again, just like in the state of Iowa, in Chicago, Gacy became extremely active in his community. He was very respected again, and on his free time, he will pile his neighbors' snow. He would do some construction around the house. He would lend them some tools at free of charge. Between 1974 and 1978, Gacy was known to throw the biggest and the best summer party. On August 1971, he got married a second time with a old fling that he had. Gacy's first known murder occurred in January 1972, where he would lure a teenage boy by promising a place to stay for the night. We will never know what exactly happened, but Gacy, based on Gacy's story, he said that the next morning he woke up, he saw that a boy was standing at the doorway with a knife in his hand. Gacy was obviously startled by the sight of the boy, thinking that he came in here to kill Gacy. So Gacy successfully removed the knife by his hand by twisting his arm and by banging the boy's head. He was eventually able to get on top of and stab the boy multiple times. After he went back into the kitchen washed the knife, and that's when he noticed that the fire was on. There was eggs and there were like breakfast stuff on the counter, so he was still hungry, obviously. So he decided to, after he washed the knife, he decided to cook himself a breakfast of two, set up the table for him and his company. After he was done with his breakfast, he took the body and buried it into a crawl space, which he later his grave with a layer of concrete. After killing the boy, Gacy explained that there was a sort of excitement, and that's when he understood the type of person he was, and that's when he's like, oh, he realized that, okay, maybe I am a little bit different and I like that type of person. In 1973, Gacy and a teenage employee that he worked with traveled to Florida, since Gacy promised to show him a house that he recently purchased. And on the first night, Gacy sexually assaulted the teenage boy in a hotel room. Gacy's second murder was around January 1974. Gacy strangled him and then placed his body in a closet before burial. So Gacy did notice that he was leaking bodily fluid from his mouth and nose that was staining his carpet. He could not allow that to happen, so he decided to stuff clogs and rags in his mouth and nose and to prevent the leakage to stain his carpet. Like, forget about the boy that is dead in your closet, but your carpet is getting ruined. We can't have that. No. Stained carpet is a big no-no for us, you know. By 1965, Gacy revealed to his wife that he was bisexual. Guessing the wife took that fairly good, because on Mother's Day of that same year, Gacy had sexual activities with his wife, which at the end he told his wife that this would be the last time that they would be having sexual activities, which was kind of shocking. And his wife was like, okay, why? What the heck is going on, you know? His wife did notice there was teenage boy coming in and out of his basement. There was a lot of music, there was a lot of noise down there. She decided to go down there to do some investigation on her own. She found a lot of IDs, young teenagers unidentified IDs. There was a lot of keys, a lot of house keys. Also found multiple magazines or pictures of gay pornographies. When she confronted Gacy about her finding and her suspicion, Gacy informed her angrily to mind her own business. By October 1975, his second wife asked Gacy for a divorce, and Gacy happily signed those marriage papers. Not only does Gacy enjoy helping his fellow neighbors and his fellow community, he also participate in party and fundraising and volunteering in children's hospital dressed as a clown. So Gacy created two clowns, which were his alter egos. One of them was Pogo the Clown and Patchy the Clown. He said that Pogo the Clown was more of a funny, of a more chilling, relaxing, you know, but Patchy the Clown was a little bit more serious, the type of clown that you will see on it. Years later, during a discussion with a detective that was undercover, Gacy, who was dressed as his clown costume and everything, told the detective that, you know, clowns can get away with murder. Now that he has the entire house to himself, he can finally be the type of person he wants to be without having to fear, without having to sneak around his wife. You know, now he's a free man. So 1 month after the divorce, he abducted and murdered his 18-year-old boy and buried his body under the dining table. 5 weeks later, on March, another 15-year-old boy went missing. Gacy continued to lure people and burying them into the crawl space of his apartment. Throughout the whole month of that year, teenage boy keep disappearing, keep going missing. Gacy will also bury excess body under the concrete floor of his tool room in the garage. On July 22nd, Gacy picked up an 18-year-old boy who was hitchhiking. So that 15-year-old boy ran away from home and had nowhere to stay and had no job. And Gacy was offering him a job. Not only a job, but he was also offering him a place to stay. To him, it sounded like a pretty sweet deal. He threw a party and a celebration for him to celebrate his 19th birthday. Gacy, who was dressed as Pogo the Clown, came to the young boy and offered to show him some magic tricks and all sorts of that. So Gacy took a handcuff and he handcuffed it himself behind his back, and he was like, hey, I can show you how to escape from any handcuff. So Gacy had a separate key in his back pocket. He took the key and removed the handcuff. Gacy handcuffed him, and after Gacy handcuffed him, he was like, okay, what's the trick, what's the magic trick. Gacy showed him the key. He was like, the magic trick is to having a key. Gacy thought he could use this opportunity to sexually molested him, but he was able to escape. The now 19-year-old boy was eventually moved out of the house and also left the construction job that Gacy offered him. Gacy confessed to murdering 33 young boys in that manner, and 26 of them were buried away in the crawl space of his home. Gacy was able to lure his victim into his house by promising them money, by promising them drugs, by promising them alcohol, showing them some magic tricks, since he was known as to work as a clown, and to the magic trick on himself to gain the trust. He raped and murdered multiple young boys using that trick and the handcuffs, since they were unable to move. He sometimes will sit on their chest, suffocate them with his weight. He will sometimes force them to play horses, where there would be the horse and Gacy would be they'd be riding on his back. Between the year 1976 and 1978, Gacy called that year his cruising year, where he committed most of his murder. 1978, the crawl space and Gacy's room had no more rooms and no longer fit any more bodies in the room. Gacy confessed that he considered putting some of the bodies in the attic, but he was worried that there would be some leakage and that could ruin the house and everything else in the house. So therefore, he decided to dispose his body by throwing the body over the I-55 bridge into the Des Plaines River. By 1978, Gacy stated that he had thrown five bodies into the river, but only 4 of them were found. On December 11, 1978, a 15-year-old boy named Robert Priest went missing. Robert was at work when he overheard Gacy talking about a construction site and about hiring people. Robert decided to go talk to Gacy about this new upcoming job. Obviously, Gacy is offering to pay Robert a lot more money than what he was making, and Robert saw this as a great opportunity. He told his coworker that he will be right back, as he didn't want to let Gacy get away and he wanted to speak to Gacy. So he went and talked to Gacy, and sadly that was the last time he was seen. His mother became extremely worried after she came in to pick up Robert, and Robert was not here. She did recall that Robert was going to talk to someone about the new construction site that he wanted to work for. 10 days later, the police they had a search warrant to search up Gacy's house. They uncovered evidence involving crime, including murders in his house. After multiple investigation and multiple search of his house, they discovered several trenches filled with human bones and human remains in his crawl space of the house. It was like filled with human remains. When they did a little bit more of investigation, they did not find the remains of Robert immediately, but there were remains of missing boys that they have been looking for the past years. They also find multiple missing people IDs and multiple keys, wallets, and all sort of stuff. Shortly after Gacy was found guilty, he became known as one of the most ruthless serial killer in the US. He was sentenced to serve 12 death sentences and 14 natural life sentences. We have come to an end on today's topic, but like always, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Let me know how you're feeling, how this story make you feel. I want to thank you guys so much for all the like and the support that I get in this video. Without you guys, this channel will not be anything. And we are so close to 50 subscribers. I guys don't know how exciting I am. I feel like if you guys, my subscribers, want this channel to grow, it will definitely grow, since you guys hold a lot of powers on whether or not the channel will thrive. Drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and share this video, and get a friend to subscribe, get your best friend to subscribe, get your mom to subscribe, even get your dog to subscribe. We don't discriminate here. Don't forget to stay humble, stay fierce, and stay safe. It is a scary world out there, and we must protect ourselves. And bye.